My name is Reed Blinn of Newmark Knight Frank. Today we're very pleased to welcome for our City Business interview Todd Carmichael, co-founder and CEO of La Colombe. Welcome, Todd.
You know, I often say, if you want to start a company, live like a rock star. And what I mean by that is in a van, schlepping your crap around and sleeping on a futon, and you eat out of convenience stores and you live as cheaply as possible, and that's what I did. So when I'd moved to Europe and I was studying roasting and I was going back and forth from out, I lived on a little boat, 27-footer, man. That's all I did. It was cheap. And for the 5 years I saved absolutely every single dime I owned. I mean, because it was gonna go for my big startup. So all of this was on, the learning curve of someone in their 20s and an obsession with getting to a certain figure that I knew I could start the company with. So that's how we got off the ground. From that point on, it was always EBITDA and leveraging off EBITDA. That's it. The first 5 to 10 years, no bank really wanted to talk to us because, come on, we were skateboarding around town, we had a skate ramp in the warehouse. This was a quintessential Gen X startup, right? And equity, it was impossible because we knew that we would lose our freedoms, but at the time, if you weren't coming out of Silicon Valley, you weren't a digital company, no one was interested. I mean, it's like saying, yes, we want to start a biscuit company. We're gonna do, next gen Twinkies. No one's really interested in that. Everyone was fascinated with what was going on in the digital space. And it was difficult to get anyone's attention. So it was no food for us, keep going. To give you perspective, in 1993, 1994, there were no micro roasters in the United States, period. If you wanted to get a little roaster, you had to get in a car and drive around Italy and find it, right? So we had located this as well as espresso machines. We opened Philadelphia's very first modern cafe. There have been cafes in Philly, but to that point, no one had ever seen anything quite like this. We pushed the door open, we had $287 in our bank. We needed to make profit that first month to survive. And we did. And we continued to do that for 23, 24 years. We wanted to settle in. The first several months, it was getting busier and busier, but we recognized that most everyone had to be explained what an espresso was, what a latte was, what a cappuccino was, that we really had our work cut out for us. We also wanted to do hospitality or wholesale work, roast for other people, except there were no cafes to sell to. And clearly, in order to make that happen, we had to really cut our teeth in the difficult kitchens of the East Coast. Guys like Georges Perrier, Jean-Marie Lecoy, the Four Seasons Hotel was my first client. Jean-Georges, Danny Meyer, all these guys up in New York, we focused on all those cafes that were restaurants that were James Beard Award kind of winning guys. And for the first 5 to 10 years, that's where we resided. In the most challenging, difficult, high tension, high stress, hot, we need to be serviced in 5 minutes environments on Earth. It was some of the best ground we've ever been able to walk through because they made us tough. They made us good. We ended up doing a deal with this, we were talking later stages, we were talking to VCs all the time. I mean, they just knock. Once you hit a certain kind of level, they knock. But none of them were going in the direction we wanted to go, except one, good partners. And so good partners came in, and I won't say that we had a conflict, but they just didn't want to go the direction I wanted to go. I wanted to go RTD. So they said, nah, we'd rather that you do brick and mortar. So I said, and it was our first board meeting was 42 days in. I said, okay, then I'm buying you out, which is something they didn't expect. And I said, I'm gonna offer you twice of what you paid 42 days ago. I'm gonna put the money together in 60 days. And I did.